Hey everybody, thanks very much for joining us here. We're delighted to be here for another WPG catch-up with none other than WPG artist 2017, I believe, Gloria Yehilevsky. Thank you, Gloria, for joining us.
Thanks, Tim. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, great. So we spent a few minutes last week catching up with Konstantin Napolov, and I thought it'd be good just to catch up with Gloria a little bit about how things are going on her end after the project and what sort of things she's got on the horizon. So I guess my first question, Gloria, is how are you and what have you been up to?
Yeah, I'm well. I'm well now. I had a hard time in the pandemic, but the last month has been good. I just came back just a month ago from the UK. My collective that I co-founded, Sounding Eye, which we'll probably talk about more later, received a grant to travel to England and to perform live. So that was one of my first live performances since the pandemic. It was my second time being on stage since the pandemic. So it's great. The energy is loads more than it used to be. It's more palpable. It feels great to perform again.
Great.
Yeah, let's just leave it there for now.
Yeah, cool. So that collaboration, I believe, is with Lindsay, who is also a former alumni of WPG. Is that correct?
Yeah, Lindsay Eastham. She and I worked together on that. We're also both on the board of directors of the Vibraphone project. So Lindsay and I see quite a bit of each other. And yeah, there's another project underway, but I won't spill just in case it doesn't happen.
Oh, okay, cool. So yeah, you touched on the Vibraphone project. Can you tell me a little bit about the project just generally?
Yeah, so the Vibraphone project, it's a new nonprofit based in Georgia, but basically our board and our volunteers are international, mostly in the US and mostly vibraphone players. And our mission is basically just to promote the vibraphone. So 2021 is the 100th anniversary of the instrument. And I should say it was founded by Brian Grazer. He's a professor at Sam Houston State University, and he composed a 4-octave vibraphone concerto, which I think that was the first 4-octave vibraphone concerto written. So he's a great composer and has a duo with his wife, who's a harpist, so plays percussion and harp, which is quite interesting. So he is a vibraphone scholar and loves the vibraphone, and he got a bunch of people together to work on this project. And we've worked on commissioning projects. We're commissioning Pamela Z and Robert Honstein for new works for the vibraphone, Robert Honstein for vibraphone and string quartet, Pamela Z for a multimedia solo, solo with fixed electronic media, I should say. And we have some events, performing events, online live streams, educational initiatives going on kind of throughout the year. And we'll be at PASIC as well. We'll have a booth. And that's where I'll be for most of PASIC if anyone wants to say hi and hang out. And we're giving away Black Swamp wood block, some scores, different things. We're doing a giveaway during PASIC. So.
Fantastic. I'm not jealous that you're at PASIC at all. I do
Why
say
not?
with sarcasm. I say with sarcasm, really, because I'm ready to travel, you know, so...
Yeah,
time,
I gotta say, it's been so good to travel.
Yeah, I've seen a few posts from my friends saying, "Oh, we're looking forward to next week." I'm like, yeah. But I think that's a great cause, and you know, the vibraphone definitely from when I started traveling, like doing educational stuff, it was very clear from the outset that marimba was like a staple. Like everyone was like learning marimba as like the first solo instrument, but I think the vibes, and rightly so, is sort of coming into the forefront now a little bit, and it's being treated more sort of equally in that medium. So, and people like yourselves with that those sorts of projects, it's fantastic to champion that. So, congratulations. I hope that goes well. So, the concerto, has that already been premiered? Did you say?
Yeah, I think Brian played it. I'm not sure when.
Okay. Yeah.
Maybe 2014, 15, but I don't want to. I could be totally off, so don't quote me on that.
Yeah, cool. So we'll talk a little bit about your collaboration with Lindsay there. So this is Sounding Eye Collective, and one of the pieces or projects, because I know it's got media involved, is Dreamerfly, which we're going to showcase in a minute. But maybe you could tell us a little bit about Dreamerfly.
Yeah, I can start with the collective. So Sounding Eye Collective, I co-founded with animator Shi Li. She's a Chinese animator and artist, and she and I met
Mhm.
when we were both studying in Birmingham. We crossed paths and wanted to collaborate. And it was a lot of kind of brainstorming and thinking through something until we tried it. And so our first project was called Minister of Loneliness. And I composed the music and she did the animation for that. It was about 12, 13 minutes. It was a double bass and percussion duo. And we were in front of 3 screens where the projections were on the screens as well as on us. So we wore white, and it was quite an interesting experiment. But it was a very challenging, huge uphill battle because we're both artists. We don't have some sort of like technical experience and how do you marry these art forms. So it was very, very exploratory, experimental. But it was quite successful at the same time, which I was honestly surprised by because it felt like we were just figuring this thing out. And then we got invitations to perform throughout the UK, and the project was screened at a few at the BNL Saint Etienne in France. It was screened recently in an American gallery, She, Her, They, Them by InQ Arts. And that was a virtual exhibition. So it got around internationally. And since then, we kind of learned from our mistakes, and our next project was Dream or Fly. And for that, James Ouston, he's a British double bassist. He's a jazz musician and composer, composed the music. And it's about 45 minutes long, and it involves quite a lot of improvisation and through composed music. So it's 45 plus. It depends how we feel when we're improvising. It can vary due to those elements. And the video elements are also improvised along with the musical improvisation. So in a live setting, we have a video artist working and making that happen at the same time as we are performing, as we are playing. So it's quite a really, really interesting effect. And no 2 performances are the same. But due to the pandemic, we were delayed and delayed and delayed and delayed. We were initially commissioned by the Herber Art Gallery and Museum in Coventry, UK, for this project, and it was intended to be a live performance. That was the goal. It was going to be, I was going to fly over, we were going to go, we were going to do it there. And then it became, okay, we're going to do a recording, and we'll at least be in person for the recording. And then the pandemic was making that more and more difficult, and we ended up recording it remotely in front of green screens. And so the musicians were pulled out of those green screens and placed into this virtual stage, which you'll see. And just the story of the project is based off of a Chinese philosophy called a butterfly dream, which is briefly a man dreams that he is a butterfly. And then when he wakes up, he wonders whether he was a man dreaming that he was a butterfly, or if he is now a butterfly dreaming that he's a man. So it kind of leaves this open-ended fantasy world, open to interpretation. And so that was kind of where it started, and then it's in 5 movements: struggle, loss, lonely, balance, and rebirth. And the movement you're about to play is loss, the second movement. And the idea is so these emotions are really portrayed through both the music and the animation. So struggle is a struggle both as a performer because it's challenging music to play, and for the audience it's challenging to listen to and to watch. Hopefully not only that, but it can be quite challenging. And it's kind of portraying these real life emotions and that all humans kind of have to go through to achieve a sense of balance, to feel a sense of rebirth, either in the religious or in a secular sense, just you feel like you're a new person or a different version of yourself. So struggle, loss, lonely, balance, rebirth. And that's also kind of this hero's journey arc as well, if you want to think of it that way, but I think it's more about the emotions. And overall, the project, lastly, I'm talking a bit much.
No, go for it.
It's intended to cultivate compassion, foster cultural empathy, because the animation is presented kind of from this immigrant's perspective. A Chinese woman immigrated to a Western country, so it always has that lens to it. So, and I, as the co-founder, I also lived in a foreign country and experienced hardships in having moved to a different country. So we both kind of bring this perspective to the collective that we hope to kind of share and just foster empathy. And that's something that we work towards kind of maybe not eradicating, but it's certainly a problem that our modern cultures have that we hope to address in the work.
Wow. Very good. All right then. So let's share this. So this is Dreamify, and I need to get my technological skills out here, which,
We'll
as I
have
just said
our
to Gloria,
reactions
is
on
not the
screen.
best. Here we go. So can you see that? Okay. Hopefully, yes.
It looks good.
Cool.
So this is from the virtual
Grüß
version.
Gott
This was
und
not
guten
a
Tag.
live performance.
Henning Behn here,
Hold a sec.
German comedy ambassador to the United Kingdom.
Sorry, Gloria. Yeah, go for it.
That's
What are you saying?
This was the virtual recording from green screens. It was not a live performance.
Wow. An experience in itself, I'm sure. All right. Here we go. Wow. Thank you very much. Very relaxing, actually. Yeah, that's great. So if anyone's interested to check out Sounding Eye Collective, you can go to www.soundingeye.com to check more about the project. So is there anything sort of moving forward for you guys? What's next on the horizon?
Mostly touring Dreamerfly right now. We haven't started any new projects. I'm sure we will create more,
Yeah.
but right now I think we'll be touring this for the next 2 years. So hopefully to
Yeah,
America.
sounds
Hopefully to America in maybe end of 2022, and we have
yeah,
an
it sounds like
invitation to a festival in South Africa, but we need
okay.
to organize around that. So that may or may not be virtual depending on resources and however we can make that
Yeah.
happen.
I was going to say, it sounds like quite a lot of effort's gone into that, so it would be good to sort of spend time trying to exhibit it. Like, amazing. And in terms of like the recording, you were saying originally it wasn't supposed to be, but that was actually done virtually. So is that? I know we talked off air about like your Premiere Pro experience, but did you do some of the editing on that?
No.
Oh, you
We
didn't.
hired somebody who knows
Oh,
what
okay.
they're
I was going
doing.
to say
Yeah.
that's quite good. So I
No, we
was
had
thinking,
some pros involved. Yeah, we.
yeah, great. Yeah, well, congratulations. Very impressive
Thank you.
indeed. So I always ask one question, and I think the question that I wanted to ask you, because I always trying to think of who best to ask certain questions. And one thing I always get asked, particularly when I'm doing master classes and things, is how does like Europe differ in terms of studying, compared to America? But obviously you've studied in multiple different countries, and I thought it'd be good to get your insight into that, as you are well positioned to answer that question. And maybe there isn't a difference, but I'd be interested to know your thoughts.
Yeah, I think the main differences are between conservatoires and universities. So it's not necessarily a cultural difference. It's more of a systemic how that institution works difference. So I did my bachelor's in Kentucky at Morehead State University, which was obviously a university academically oriented. So a lot of my time was in classes, theory, history, whatever they had us reading and writing about, and ensemble rehearsals and lessons. And then on top of that, you're doing whatever you're doing for, because you have a hour lesson a week, but then that's obviously a lot more time on the back end on your own time, in addition to that. So it's very intense, like, because you always have to be somewhere, you're always busy. And a conservatoire for me was the opposite, master's of the conservatoire, because we had two classes which only met once a week for an hour, and nobody took attendance, and you had to write a paper at the end of the year, but otherwise there was no other homework or marks or anything, and you had exams at the end of the year as well, at the end of the academic year, which were playing exams. And so you had your lessons throughout the year. You could distribute them however you wish, and depending on the teacher's schedules, of course. Like certain teachers would, especially in Birmingham, we had so many tutors that some of them would be flying in from Ireland, and so that you could only take a lesson with him like this day, this month, and so you just had to do it that way. But you just you're left on your own to kind of prepare yourself for those exams and prepare yourself for whatever else it is you're doing, auditions or papers you're writing. Because course-wise, there was just loads of free time, so you're expected to practice during that time or use it however you feel is best for you, and you're not given as strict of a schedule. So it's highly independent, focused. I think that's the broadest difference. And I think that same difference applies within the US. So if you're going to a university or if you're going to a conservatory in America, NEC, Boston Conservatory, whatever, you'll have a lower academic load. But I don't believe it's as drastically different as it was in the UK. Because in the UK, it was the academic load was very small. It was only those two classes. That doesn't mean that the expectation was not high academically. It was just not a lot of your time during your week was spent in academics.
Yeah.
Which, if you're doing an orchestral percussion module, that leaves a lot of free time to study scores and do all the scholarly stuff on your own if you're oriented in that sense, if you're academically oriented in that way. And so that would be in addition to actually playing the excerpts, taking the lessons. Broad start, I think in Sweden, but I wasn't on a course there. I was an independent. I just went there to take lessons, and fortunately had the resources of a university, but I wasn't in any classes. I rehearsed with the orchestra there, and the conductor, when she first met me, she was like, okay, I'll try and speak English, and then she forgot after about 2 sentences, and so she would speak Spanish the whole time. And you know, it was surprisingly easy to follow along. Like after just hearing her talk for a little bit, I was able to pick up rehearsal numbers. And yeah, I don't remember. Oh, American in Paris, that's what we were rehearsing. And then she would say the rehearsal number, and you could just kind of use context clues to figure out, okay, that was 51 or whatever it was. And so musically, it wasn't drastically different. And this, in different cultures, you know, the percussion instruments are the same. There's some, like, Brits say clash cymbals instead of crash cymbals, and you tend to use large and thin cymbals, and we tend to use smaller and thicker cymbals in the US. So like a pair of 16 and 18 hand cymbals are very common. I think mine are 17s, whereas those would be tiny in the UK. You're using like 20s, 21s, 22s for most orchestral kind of like that. Those would be the first ones you might pick up. Even for like Romeo and Juliet, it was like, I think the only thing I had access to was like 20-inch cymbals. So I'm 5'5" and like 140 pounds, and I'm holding 20-inch cymbals trying to play Romeo and Juliet.
Yeah, I remember a lesson with John Herbert on that as well when I was studying, and literally for the hour he's just had me stood there like this. I'm losing it. I can remember that to this day. So yeah, I understand that for sure. And going back to the language thing, actually, like I remember you rescuing me once when we were in Estonia, I think, because
they speak Russian.
Yeah, because I was trying to order lunch for the whole WPG, but I wasn't getting very far. And yeah, I remember you came to the rescue, so thank you for that.
Yeah, of course.
It was quite handy to have the Russian there for sure. So great. Okay, well, thank you so much for joining us. Fantastic to see that, you know, we're getting some cross collaborations, especially with some former WPG artists. So hi to Lindsay. Sadly, she can't join us tonight, but I'm sure we're going to see plenty more of you both. Is there anything more you wish to add?
No, it's good to see you, and yeah, thanks for taking the time to chat with me. And I hope this is of value to whoever listens.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's all about sort of just showcasing what we do here at the WPG. So I'm sure people will find interest in that. So thank you so much, Gloria, and we'll catch up with you soon.
Bye.